today's video is going to be a little different. It's going to be all about homeschool struggles that I'm currently facing and something you may come across. So if you're new here, I'm Shadiamond. I'm a mom to a 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and a 10-month-old, and so I am currently homeschooling my babies. So I know a lot of people, have a hard time figuring out how to get started homeschooling. So for me, it's something I knew I was going to do from the beginning. So I've just been doing a little bit over time, just teaching what I feel like it was, appropriate for my children based on what I saw them interested in, what I thought they were capable of doing, and just what I saw them doing on their own, right? And so coming up with lessons and things and picking out toys or activity has not been something that was a challenge. That really comes easy for me. I've always wanted to teach. I have experience tutoring and teaching in schools and stuff like that. And so that's one of my strong suits, right? But I've had a few struggles, especially now with the baby, that I think people don't really prepare you for. So the first thing is going to be getting organized. Let me just say, before becoming a mom, I was not the most organized person. So I had my things a little bit here and there. I knew where they were. But with children, it's like you have so many tiny pieces, loose parts, paper here and there. They want to draw all the time and stuff like that. And it's like, it's been really hard trying to get things super organized to make it really presentable to where they're able to access it without getting overwhelmed with cleaning it up. And just finding a way to keep up with things, keep record with things. Although it's not a requirement, I'm just the mom who likes to keep things for keepsakes. And it's like, I can't keep every single paper, every single craft, every single toy, whatever the case may be. So that's one of the things I've been struggling with, keeping things organized. Another thing has been figuring out like what I actually want to do, like the different styles. I'm not a buy a curriculum and go by every page by page. Sometimes I'm like, we can learn on the go. Sometimes I'm like, I want them to have a little more structure. Sometimes I'm like, I want to do a mixture of both. And so it's kind of like I'm still finding my groove, still finding my routine, figuring out like what I want to learn, and stuff like that. My third struggle has been one that has been the most challenging thus far, and that's finding the balance or figuring out how to be both mom and homeschool teacher. Because mom has boundaries, mom has rules. Not saying the teacher does not have those things, but if you think about it, like in public schools, I had teachers who challenged me. I had teachers who pushed me. I had teachers who allowed me to do things to challenge myself. I had teachers who, saw different skills, different things that I was talented in, different things that I was gifted in, and they, pulled those things out of me, right? But as mom, it's like, yes, you're the one who's teaching them. You have to have set boundaries, manners, limits, right? And so it's like, no, I don't want you crawling all over my furniture, but I do want you to excel in terms of gross motor skills, right? And so that's where mom is like, okay, mom is tired today, but teacher needs to go on a field trip. I don't know if you get it, but it's like, ooh, I'm responsible for doing all of these things. And at times it's really, really challenging, but, it's stretching me to grow. And, that's what I love about it. So something I came up with is think about those non-negotiables, right? What are some things that you just would not let them do, regardless of whether it's this day, that day, right? So in terms of me, having them crawling up on the furniture, that's just not something I want them to do. So I make sure that I get them outside to the parks for a walk, to like indoor places to jump, play, run, and stuff like that. I have to push myself out of my comfort zone sometimes, even when I don't want to do it, to make sure that they're getting what they need, because it's developmentally appropriate for them to want to bounce over furniture. Especially if you're in a small space, you can't really get all of those toys that are designed to do that. So I have had to be really creative in how I maneuver things, right? I don't want to crush their spirits because they want to play. They need to play. Because, you can't crawl on the furniture, or you can't do this, and I don't feel like taking you outside for a walk, right? So it's like, it's a pull and tug, because no child wants to be in a book all day, workbooks all day, right? once they get older, that's kind of like a requirement, but it's like for toddlers, for a 3 and a 5-year-old, like obviously they're gonna want to play all the time, and that's how they do most of their learning. And so it's like I have to make sure that I am in teacher mode, like when need be. Mom always, but it's like, you know, being a teacher, you have to stretch yourself, right? Because you're responsible for them excelling in whatever they're passionate about, whatever they're skilled at. You're responsible for helping them develop their gifts, you know. Whether they're interested in something that you know little about, you have to find those resources. You have to be that person. You have to take them to find those people. And so it's a lot that's required of you, right? And I don't think I necessarily took into account, like, to the extent at which it's hard to balance the two. But it's like, for the most part, my parenting is pretty much open and, you know, allowing them to be the one that's kind of leading what they learn to a certain extent. So it's just been a personal, like, pull and tug. Like, you have to grow, mom. You have to grow so they can grow, right? You don't want them to be stagnant or complacent because mama didn't feel like doing this. You know, you're responsible for making sure they're on the A game, right? And so I feel like I'm a little hard on myself, but that's just been a struggle of mine thus far with homeschooling. Let's see, what else? Oh, finding a routine. So I do have a 10-month-old, and so anything with the baby is just unpredictable. Day to day is different. Schedule is different. You know, fatigue, energy level is just different. And so it's like, I want them to get used to getting up and doing the same things every day, but sometimes it's just not going to happen. Sometimes we can get started with handwriting, we can get started with the activities, and some days mama's gonna have to start later on in the day because, you know, I just, you know, I have things to do, I'm not feeling it, or whatever the case may be. And so I know people say children thrive on routines and stuff like that, but sometimes it's like, you know, give yourself a little grace, take a day off, you know, regroup. But I do try to be consistent in which, whenever we do start, the set of things that's chosen. So say for instance, handwriting then math, or handwriting then reading, handwriting then free play, or something like that. I try to keep that consistent. In terms of morning, what we do when we wake up, that's kind of consistent too, as well as our nighttime routine. So we're like in between. But again, this is like my first year trying to get a legit schedule, and you know, you grow with anything. So yeah, that, and I guess the other thing would be like, how much is enough? Like, can I do it a simplified way? Can I do it with less things? Do I need more things to make it more extravagant and more, I don't know. Like, am I challenging them enough? Can I be relaxed because they're 3 and 5? Am I like too relaxed to the point where they can be more and they can learn more and know more? Like, I feel like these are questions that moms in general ask about our children, but for me, being homeschool mom, being in charge of how much they know, whether they're enjoying it, whether they're learning what's needed, what they need to learn, it's kind of be like, these are some thoughts that I'm having. And I know it's pretty similar for a lot of moms, especially if you have a baby too. There will be some struggles, right? But it's a part of growing and figuring out what works for your family. How's your family dynamics? What's really important to you and stuff like that. So all in all, this is not to discourage you, but this is just something that you may feel when you first get started, because it's not like a handbook on how to homeschool, right? We can pick out a curriculum, but how's our day? You know, how will our day go after that? How do we keep it consistent? How do we keep it fun? How do we make sure that we're challenging our child? You know, how do we, I don't know. Those are a few questions. So let me know if you have any of these struggles, if you have ways to overcome these things, if you're finding your groove, if you're afraid of these things. Do drop a comment in the comment section below. And as always, I'll be back with another video.